Moving abroad always looks fun and glamorous in the movies, but even if it's something that you want to do, you might be a little scared to make that big move. So you're going to have to find a way to conquer those fears. Keep watching because in this video, I'm going to go over my 10 tips to overcome the fear of moving abroad. Welcome back. And if you're new here, my name is Cepee, rhymes with Peppy from SheHitRefresh.com, and I help women age 30 and over break free from a life of routine to move abroad or travel the world long term. And that's exactly what I did when I was 35 years old back in 2015 when I left the US for Spain. It's now been 7 years and I can't believe it. Time has totally flown by, and I have to say it was the best decision of my 30s. Now, if you're here, you're probably looking to do something similar, so I want to thank you so much for stopping by my channel. On this channel, I talk about moving abroad specifically for US citizens, and I would love to invite you to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and turn on notifications so that you don't miss out on any future move abroad content. So when you're thinking about moving abroad, you might be making this pros and cons list of all the reasons why you'd love to move abroad, but also maybe a list of reasons of why you're scared to move abroad. And that's totally normal. In this video, I'm gonna go over some of the reasons why you might be nervous and of course, give you those 10 tips to help you move past those fears. But before I do that, I do wanna give my weekly shout out. This week's shout out goes to Joe, who commented on my video, why I left the US and moved to Spain in my 30s. And Joe says, hi, my wife and I are also from Houston. We're tired of living here and have a similar mindset as you. We want to enjoy life and not get stuck in the rat race. Now that we have a baby, we want the best for him and have been considering moving elsewhere. Your video has been extremely helpful. My wife just said, she's convincing me. LOL. Would you say it's a great place to raise kids? I just quit being a teacher and do not want my son going through our education system. Oh, Joe, thank you so much for stopping by and leaving a comment. Spain is actually a wonderful place to raise kids. I don't have kids of my own, but my friends, I do have friends here who have kids and friends who have moved from the US with their kids here and just say it is a totally different childhood experience to be here. So definitely tap into some maybe Facebook groups for parents who are living in Spain. There's a lot of those, especially if you look at maybe moms and dads in Madrid or look for specific cities. And you can ask a lot of questions there to see what it's like from people who are parents here. Best of luck with your move. I hope you really do get to make it over. Now, if anyone out there is interested in getting a shout out, just leave a comment or question below, and you never know, you might be the next shout out that I give. All right, without any further ado, let's dive into today's topic about the 10 tips to overcome your fear of moving abroad. But first, I just want to talk about some of those common fears that come up. Because even if you're super excited and know that you want to move abroad, that doesn't mean you're not going to have these fears and doubts that come up. And it's actually pretty normal. So I just want to go over these so that you can see that you're not the only one feeling these feelings. So one of the most common fears to moving abroad is money. One of the questions that I get often is how much money do I need to have saved to move abroad? And really there is no right answer. It's gonna be different for everybody because each of us is seeking a different type of lifestyle. But no matter how much you have saved, I think when it comes to money, we never feel like we have enough to make that move abroad, but you just wanna make sure you have enough to take care of your housing, your bills, entertainment, and any other extra expenses you might have. And of course, also plan for any kind of emergency expenses that might pop up. And of course, it's gonna be different if you're moving abroad with your remote job and you're gonna have an income that's coming in, or if you're having to quit your job and move abroad and then find a job once you're there. So if you're moving without a job, just make sure you have enough money to cover your expenses until you can find something. I would encourage you to do extensive research on the cost of living of where you're going. And of course, whatever you think you have to save, try to save double that because once you get abroad, you will see how quickly the money actually goes. Another common fear that people have is the language. So if you're planning to move to a country where the native language is different than your own, you might be a little worried about if you're going to be able to communicate effectively, even just for daily needs. Just to make sure you're setting yourself up for success, it's best to really take some language classes before you go. Learn as much as you can so you can at least have a conversational level once you get there. Another common fear is work. So for a lot of people, the choice of moving abroad does mean that they have to leave their current job. And I know it can be scary to leave your security, what you know, for the unknown. But nowadays, with so much work being done remotely, you might be able to stay with your current job and take that abroad with you. Now, of course, it might be difficult to do that due to time zones, but if your employer is flexible and you enjoy your job, talk to them and see if there's an opportunity. I'll drop some resources below about why or why not your company would let you take your job abroad, and also a list of 14 companies that actually hire globally for remote positions. The next common fear is relationships. So this isn't just romantic relationships, but when you move abroad, you're probably leaving behind a long list of friends and family. So as much as we love to have our inner circle close by, moving abroad does mean that you do have to say goodbye to your parents, your best friends, acquaintances, and more. It can be nerve-wracking to move abroad without your support system, but there are so many ways to still stay in touch with people. And of course, part of the excitement and adventure of moving abroad is that you're going to make new relationships in your new country. And last but not least, one of the most common fears is safety. So especially for a woman who's moving abroad on their own, this fear may come up because you don't know what you're actually moving towards, right? You may be moving to a country that you don't know much about, and you may not know the local language, which will make you feel a little bit insecure of navigating this new life abroad on your own. But do keep in mind, if you're moving from the US abroad, most countries are much safer in the US when it comes to crime, and especially violent crime. I think for me personally, one of the biggest perks to living in Spain is that sense of security and safety that I have, being a woman here, walking around on my own, and also just not having to worry about random shootings or anything like that. So definitely research where you're moving to, but 9 times out of 10, you will be probably moving to a safer place than that of the US. All right, so now that we've gone over the common fears, let's talk about the 10 tips to help you move past that fear of moving abroad. Tip number 1 is to research the best places to move abroad. So if you know you want to move abroad and you're flexible about where you can go, then do some research to find out what are some of the best places to move abroad. So ultimately, you're going to want to find a place that best suits your needs, but it does help to talk to people who have moved abroad or spent extensive amount of time abroad. You want to talk to them about their favorite places, just pick their brains to see what they loved about different places. And in making your short list, just focus on what's important to you. Do you want to live in a big city? Do you want to live by the sea? Do you want to live in a small town or village? Do you want to live close to a major airport? The more research you do means you're going to have more information and you're going to have a better sense of where you're going to, which is going to put your fears a little bit more at ease. And of course, if you want to move to Europe and you need some help, check out my digital book, I'm Out of Here, An American's Ultimate Visa Guide to Living in Europe, where I go over the 18 easiest countries to move to in Europe based on viable visa options. You'll find over 50 viable visa options there. Plus, I go into detail into about 36 cities in Europe, giving you information about culture, language, cost of living, safety, etc. All right, my second tip for you is to save at least 6 months of living expenses before you go. So as I mentioned before, there's no magic number of how much you need to have saved before you go abroad, but a good rule of thumb is to have 6 months of your living expenses saved to tide you over until you find a job or in case if things go wrong, just to have that there as a sense of security. I mean, when you move abroad, it does take time to get settled. You're basically starting from scratch in a foreign country. So just having this money saved up before you go will take some weight off your shoulders. So you don't have to worry about money when you move abroad, but you can focus on building your new life there. My third tip is to do some solo travel. So if you don't need to move soon and you're unsure of where to go, why not start by traveling solo first? Traveling by yourself is a great way to get your bearings on your own in a foreign country. I love solo travel, and I think by traveling by yourself, it does encourage you to learn independence and self-reliance. Not only will you gain those skills, but you can treat this as a scouting trip. Whether you know where you want to live or not, you can explore certain countries and get a feel for what it would be like to live there. So tip number 4 to overcome the fear of moving abroad is to find housing in the safest and most affordable area. So of course, a big part of moving abroad is finding a place to live. Now, when you're looking for a place to live, try to find a good balance of a place that is both affordable and safe. Now, what you don't want to do is blow your whole budget on housing, but you need to make sure that you're going to be safe and comfortable where you're living. Do you want to live alone? Do you want to live with a roommate? In either case, you're going to want to find an area that you feel safe in at all hours. Tip number 5 is learn the language. So again, if you're moving somewhere where the language is different than your own, do your best to learn the local language. There are tons of resources online. Of course, everyone's using Duolingo. Try to take some classes, and when you move abroad, try to mix with the locals so that you can learn as much as you can. But of course, the more you can learn before you make that move will help you be able to manage and navigate daily life so much better. Tip number 6 is one of my favorites, and that is to join online expat groups. So to get the inside scoop of what it's like to live abroad, join these online expat groups where you can talk to people who have already made the plunge, made the move, and are doing the thing that you want to do. You can learn so much from the people in these communities, everything from what it's really like to live there and helpful tips to make that transition so much easier. So what you want to do is try to find an expat group for the country and city that you're moving to. That will help you get some really useful information. And of course, if you're a woman age 30 and over, please join my free Facebook group, She Hit Refresh. Tip number 7 is to set up virtual chat dates with your loved ones back home. As I mentioned before, one of the biggest fears to moving abroad is leaving our family and friends behind. But due to technology, they are never too far away. So you can set up weekly or monthly video chats with those that you want to stay in touch with so that you can remain close and connected. And you know, it's just a great way to have something to look forward to, especially on those long, lonely days when you're trying to just get your bearings abroad. Tip number 8 to overcome the fear of moving abroad is to learn basic self-defense. So if safety is your concern, there are some things you can do to help you feel safer anywhere. You can do everything from taking a women's self-defense course at your local community center all the way to Krav Maga. But the most important thing is to find a way to learn some skills so that you feel more empowered and safer when you're abroad. Tip number 9 is to plan a trip home to fight homesickness. One of the best things you can do when you commit to moving abroad is to already plan a trip home for an upcoming holiday or special event. I suggest to plan the trip a few months after you've made your move abroad so that it gives you some time to look forward to something, but also gives you time to get settled in your new country. And last but not least is tip number 10 to overcome that fear of moving abroad, and that is to commit to a set period of time in your new home country. So just know that moving abroad is a daunting experience, and it can be challenging to get comfortable in an entirely new country, a new culture, a new language, new friends, new life, etc. And this can make people want to jump ship too early. So before you move, just commit to living abroad for a certain amount of time and stick to it. This can be anything from a few months, but what I really suggest is at least a year to really get a feel for it. I think a year is a good time to get a feel for a country, to see if it's the right fit for you without making a decision based on some ephemeral feelings. And that's it. I hope you found this video useful. Of course, moving abroad is both equal parts exciting and terrifying. So for any of those fears that come up, please go through this list and see if they can help you overcome some of those. And of course, if you need any extra resources to help you with your move abroad, please check out my digital guide, I'm Outta Here, an American's ultimate visa guide to living in Europe, where I go over the 18 easiest countries to move to based on viable visa options. And if you'd like additional help with your move abroad and would like to work with me, please check below. I'll drop some links on how we can work together. If you're a woman age 30 and over, please join my free Facebook group, She Hit Refresh, where you'll meet over 10,000 like-minded women, and you'll find tons of resources, information, and support to help you with your own move abroad. And if you've enjoyed this video, please give me a like, subscribe to my channel, and turn on notifications so that you don't miss out on any future move abroad content.